And the referee is...
We have a lineman. I'm going to go down that lineup as we go through the course.
So we have alignment, white flag up from the aligner, and the referee is pulling close, checking her watch. Looks like we're roughly 2 minutes, a minute maybe away.
Charlie Elwes at 6. He is breathing hard and getting ready to go.
Yeah, these guys are up at the catch already, and they don't want to mess around, I think. They're all aware of the importance of getting off the line quickly.
And now we have a red flag up. So it's your national champions against the bronze medalists from the IRA, over 4 miles.
White flag up. Crews are being pulled. Starter's flag is up. They're off.
We have a start.
Okay.
You can see it from here. It's a clean start.
Very clean start. Great contrast to last year. We're out from under the bridge and any backwash that might create.
Beautiful conditions for the race.
Crews still in their high strokes. As someone expected, Yale
30 seconds down.
Pulled out a seat in these first 30 seconds.
Very level. No surprise here.
Harvard 41 and a half. Yale lower than that, 38, and holding right on.
When I watched the IRA, I really liked the base that Yale had through the middle 1,000. And if they can get into something really good like that here over 4 miles, that's going to pay off for them.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting that Yale, who scorched that first 400 meters of the IRA, has chosen here not, they could, if they wanted to, have scorched Harvard. They've decided to row out with Harvard, and now they seem to have maybe a seat, would you say, Andy? It's a little hard to tell because...
Yeah, perhaps. It's very level. Grant Lewis is the coxswain for Yale. He's a junior, 5'8", 125 from Hinsdale, Illinois, and Deerfield Academy. And there's a little bit of weight coming across the course, too. That's unfortunate. It's hitting Harvard now, and then it hits Yale. Give Harvard a little bit of advantage there. The stroke for Yale is Stefan Riemakosten, a senior, 6'4", 180 pounds from Berlin, Germany, and the Alexander von Humboldt School. He's the man that's been in there all year, replacing Nate Goodman, who was the stroke for the last 2 years. Nate is at 4 seat. The 7th seat is Sholto Carnegie, a junior, 6'6", 192 pounds from Oxford, England, and the Charlwell School. And this is a dead level race right here.
This is Harvard is not letting Yale get out. They're overstroking them by a bit, or were, but it seems like they've gotten down to match them.
2:10 down, very level coming into the half-mile mark. And the 6th seat, Charlie Elwes, you saw him getting ready before, a sophomore, 6'7", 215 pounds from Newbury, England, and Radley College. And we are through the half mile at about 2:23, dead level.
Dead level. This is a great race.
It's living up to its billing for sure. Yeah, let me go through the rest of the lineup. Yale, 5 seat, Paul Jacot, a junior, 6'8", 215 pounds from Chalon-sur-Saône in France, and the Institution des Chartreux. And it looks like Paul and Charlie at 5 and 6 doing a good job, rowing a little lower than Harvard, but Harvard is right there. It's dead level. From our perspective, maybe we're falling back a little bit in the watch. Looks like Yale has maybe a seat or two, but if you watch where the bows are, it looks dead level. 4 seat is Nate Goodman, a senior. The stroke of the last 2 years for the Yale crew. 6'4" from Montclair, New Jersey, 200 pounds, and Montclair High School. Doing a great job at 4. Made the adjustment from stroke to 4 this year without a hitch. Great teammate, great oarsman, and good American oarsman too, by the way. 3 seat, Tom Digby, a freshman, 6'5", 220 for Oxfordshire, UK, and the Abingdon School. And it looks like after 3.5 minutes, the Yale pressure from their base is starting to work.
Yale is just slipping out here a little. Harvard's absolutely in contact. They're in this race, but Yale is just getting a couple more inches. They're rowing a beat maybe lower, getting a couple more inches a stroke, and that's working its magic in this second half mile.
Yale very patient. Harvard doing a lot to stay with them, and that's great for the Crimson. But we'll see how the Yale pressure affects them as we go down the track. 2-seat, Jonathan Winter, a freshman who replaced the captain, Rob Hearn, when he went down with mononucleosis. He's 6'5", 195 from Auckland, New Zealand in Mount Albert Grammar School. Here we go, up into the mile mark, approaching 4.5 minutes.
This is a very good time for that first mile.
Yes, it is, about 4:32. Yale maybe a seat or two here as we're coming up level with the Crimson Bow 4. That Yale pressure, relentless.
Yeah, Yale looking very smooth here. Harvard looking smooth, especially in the middle of their boat, which has been really the core of the boat all year. You can see in the Harvard boat at 6 and 5, these are two elite level athletes, which really help a program. They're thick, they're strong, good body control. But now look over from that Harvard stroke, looking over where is Yale, because now he can't see the Yale stern, and that's not a position he wants to be in. Well,
the position you want to be in, the position that the Yale fans hope crosses the line first, is the bow man, Oliver Wynne Griffith, a senior, 6'6", 205 from London, England, and the Kennedy Radley College. He went to 2 high schools. That's how talented he is. But right now, Yale is starting to move ever so slightly. You're right, the Harvard stroke can see the wake and the puddles from the Yale crew with his peripheral vision, but he can't quite pick up the class of '83 shell that Yale is in. He can't quite visually pick them up. It's going to be critical here as we come into the 6th minute and the 7th minute through the 6-minute mark that Harvard stay close to Yale. Looks like Yale now has about a half a length.
Yeah.
It's 6 minutes down. Exciting races.
So this is a great race, and we talked about in the other races that turned out not to be so close how in match racing some things don't end up, and it's tough to stay connected, and that Harvard with not quite the same base speed has stayed connected, and yet, and on the other side of that is, we're getting towards 2K here, and this is the margin Yale had, a little bigger margin over 2K when they've been racing.
Right, but Yale's rowing a lot lower than they were at the IRA. This is 33.5, 34, which is a good sign for the Bulldogs. They're just letting that big, powerful base, those tall guys right in the middle, just push and swing.
Yep, Harvard at 35 here, so they've got to work harder to stay in it.
They just look shorter.
And
not only physically, but shorter reach, shorter angle.
Reach, shorter angle, yep.
So 7 minutes down. And so I've got about a 3-4 second lead for Yale.
Yeah, it's not open water, so I'd like to think we're not at the 4 seconds yet.
Water's a little bumpier here, and for Harvard to get back in this race, they have to be clean. You know, sometimes you get momentum, 3 or 4 strokes, and then you hit a top of a wave, or you finish out in a valley and you wash out. It checks your momentum. So that's what Harvard's looking to do, is just sustain the momentum by rowing well. You have to row well in rough water. And looks like Yale is able to push out to about a length now.
Yeah, Yale's it's been a steady game. It's not neither crew is taking sort of a big match 10 versus 10. Yale's just got better base speed, and they're able to do it a beat lower.
8 minutes down now. It's a length. Let me just talk a little bit about the job that Jonathan Winter, the freshman who filled in for the captain, has done at 2-seat. That's you're a freshman, imagine that. You're joining a story program with a legendary coach. And all of a sudden your captain, your leader all year, goes down with a terrible illness at exactly the wrong time, and you're stroking the JV and you're doing well, and all of a sudden the coach taps you and puts you up. And what a response throughout the the heats and the semis, and then the final at the IRA. What a job that Jonathan Winter has done. And he's doing it again. But here we see Harvard making a little bit of move back.
So you can see on the screen, as Andy is talking, you can see Harvard is making a push here. They know this 2-mile mark is coming, and they have to push now. They can't wait against a crew this strong for the last mile. And we're getting this. We had a nice tail breeze. In this section of the water we've talked about, the water is a little busier, a little choppier. It's where it's deep and confluence of tides, so you've got to be clean. And Harvard's pushed back in. They were a little open down, and now they're 2/3 of a length down, I'd say.
Yeah, Yale started at 33, Harvard at 34. They were stroke for a little while. Now we're halfway through the race, 9:15. And I'm impressed by this Harvard move right here.
This is a big Harvard move, and I think we'll see Yale. This stroke is quite disciplined. The Yale stroke. He has not looked out of the boat. He's relying on his coxswain, who's kept pretty much eyes ahead as well.
Seems like Yale has checked the Harvard momentum now.
They have checked it. Yeah, they've checked it and pushed back a seat or two.
Now, that dogleg you were talking about, Greg, that's coming up, and that's a little bit to Harvard's advantage. That might give them, while the crews go the same distance, perceptually it might give them a little edge or something to hang on to as they want to, they have overlap now, but they need to get deeper into the Yale shell and make something really happen in the last mile.
Yeah, they were as much, I'd say, as a third into their shell, and now we're down to maybe deck on deck. So Yale's pushed back out, and what's impressive is I'm sure they've called the 10, but it's 33 and a half. They have not done it with the cadence.
Mm-hmm. Well, Yale has a lot of respect for Harvard and what they've been able to accomplish, and they expected Harvard to give them a huge push at some point in the middle. And so, it's a little cat and mouse. Let them come back.
Yep.
Gather your wits, breathe, and then make another push away and control the race and not be afraid when Harvard starts to try to take control of it.
Yep.
Shaping up to be a classic here, Greg. It's still a quarter of a length.
It's a little close, and we in the TV launch just a little too close to these crews. Launches can send out a side bounce, and we don't want to really affect the results.
And the water's a little nicer through here too. We went through a little bumpy spot there by the 2 mile mark, and as we come into 2.5 miles, we're over 11 minutes. And Harvard is made back to about 2/3 of a length down.
Yep, they're back. Harvard's putting themselves back into this race.
This is where that dogleg we talked about is a factor.
Right, and so now the Harvard coxswain, they come around here and he starts thinking about the buoys and how he's going to line up right down to the finish. A little bit trickier in this outside lane.
Now it's down to half a length. And 2.5 miles down, 11:45.
Yeah. So now the guys in the Harvard, certainly the Harvard guys can feel Yale next to them again. And that's really encouraging. That's they can feel it. And James Johnson, the big 5-man, he just took a look over. And I coach high school rowing a little bit, Andy, and we encourage our crew to get our athletes to take a look over and assess the situation.
Yeah, they're making some noise. There's a little bit of noise in the Harvard shell. It's about 1/3 of a length now. And the water's going to get better in the last mile. We'll see if that has a factor. The water might get better, but how's your fatigue level? How's your are you able to stay engaged with the stroke itself and not get caught up in the position of the two crews?
Yep. Well, they're now deep in this race, and we've all sort of done these stress works for 15, 20 minutes. This is, we're now really aerobic work. We're feeling it in the legs. We're feeling it, and it's now sort of an issue of being stubborn and really trying to push through that. Yale seems to have stopped the move again.
Yeah, 13 minutes. 13 minutes down, 1/3 of a length. This is terrific racing. Finish the strokes, stay long, stay clean.
So Harvard's
stay together.
Got themselves down to 34, so they are. And Yale, interesting, I got them at 32, Andy, which is lower than I thought they'd want to be here.
I think they're waiting until just the right moment to pop it up.
Yeah.
At least that's what the Yale fans are hoping for. And there's a lot of power and a lot of experience in this shell. I know there's 2 freshmen at 3 and 2, but the leadership from the Stern, from Grant, from Stefan, they know how to race. But so does Harvard, and they are moving back.
Yeah, Harvard's making a move in here. And so we'll see. So we are now entering into the last mile of the race. We're about to come up to the mile buoys.
14 minutes right there.
Yep. So this
now it's down to about 2 seats.
Yep.
Harvard rowing higher. Let's see if Yale will respond here.
Harvard's been rowing higher pretty much the whole race.
Yale got a little energy there going through those buoys. They're making a little move here.
Yeah, well, it could have been a planned move. It could
Yep.
have been that, this is where we start to reassert ourselves. And so Yale's now up at 33.5 to Harvard's 34.5.
Yale just got another seat.
And,
referee looking closely at Harvard's course here, asking her driver to stay behind the Harvard shell.
and she's worrying mostly about the buoy in front of us, famous Can 13, which is right on the edge of the course. So she wants to make sure Harvard can clear through it.
Coming up on 15 minutes.
And it looks like Yale's just stretched themselves out to a little bit.
No, I think Harvard came back a seat there. Gee, you look away to get a visual on the 13 can, and you come back. Now it seems like Yale has moved out one more time.
Yeah, it's okay. So we are now 3/4 of a mile to go here.
Two crews, desperate fight. Yale trying to keep their bow out in front. Harvard, if they could just come level, might change the
If they could come
complexion.
level, they could start to damage them, and they know that. And Harvard's just going up, not radically, but
It hasn't quite happened yet for Harvard.
no. In fact, they've just seems to me they're down 4 seats down now.
Rima Costin at stroke, Lewis and the coxswain. A great battery, if you will. Catcher and pitcher. You know, it's funny. I don't see Grant. He takes a peek every once in a while, but he's focused on getting his crew moving. And now they're taking a huge move at 16 minutes down.
Yep, they are.
Wow, there it is.
There they go. Yale is.
All of a sudden, water gets a little level. They're coming in at the shelter of the shore here, and they are making a huge move.
And they're up at 35.5, so they've gone to what would be race pace, and
There it goes.
they're opening up. And
16:24.
Harvard, if they've got something in them, they've got to go now.
3 seconds.
They can't let Yale get a full length on them, and yet Yale is about out now to a full length.
Very patient, and they waited. I thought they would do that. They waited through the base, through the rough water. Now it's getting flatter. They got a tailwind. They're up at
So Harvard's
34.5, 35.
Yeah, and Harvard's still at 33.5 after overstroking most of the race. They're now not overstroking.
What a beautiful move right there, right around 16 minutes.
Yale's now got about a quarter length of open.
In a minute, they've completely changed the course of the race. 17 minutes down, open water.
And so this is a great job by Yale. Great job hanging back, pacing themselves,
Waiting for just the right moment.
waiting for the moment they thought they could do. And now Harvard's just taking it up off their most recent pace.
Wow, it looked like Yale was on the ropes a little bit. Certainly the Harvard fans thought so. And
Well,
bam.
but for their cadence was abnormally low.
Right.
You know.
that 1 minute from 16 to 17.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's a big move. And
Now-
they're not giving up. Harvard's come up, but Yale is still slipping out.
There's too much in there. There's too much. Too much experience, too much power, too much length.
So Yale at
And-
35, and Harvard at 34. And this Harvard Stern pair is sort of well known. They've made their marks at being able to really jack the cadence up, but they have not been able to do that here.
You can see the effort there to raise the rate on Stefan's face and head. He's still like a machine, but head's wobbling a little bit, as you might expect after 18 and a half minutes of all-out effort.
Well, he's sort of loosely put together on the top of his body there, and so he
Wow, what a boat race.
a great boat race, great challenge. Different tactics than we thought they'd use.
Probably just under 19 minutes for Yale. Let's get an unofficial time here as they come across the line. There it is, 18:56. Yeah.
That's what I get.
1901. Yeah.
Great race.
Fantastic.
Great race. Fantastic race. What every boat race should be like.
That was incredible. A gallant race from both crews.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that
it's
was
rare. I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, I think we were privileged to see that kind of race. There have been close races before, but that we've had things with people passing out, or not races of beauty the whole way. But those crews were cat and mouse each other a bit, but they were close to optimum speed. And Harvard didn't throw it in. They went back and they challenged hard in the middle of that race, and then Yale had the resources to push away at the end.
It took 4 miles and 19 minutes to make a 5-second victory. But really it was about that minute from 16 to 17.
Yeah.
Where we're getting 1856.1 for Harvard official, for Yale official. 1859, yeah.
Okay. So once again, we're 0.3 of a second off in our estimates, but that's why we're unofficial.
But you knew, the Yale fans were hoping that, okay, we're rowing lower, we're still controlling the race, our bow's still out front.
Yep.
Harvard, tremendous opponent,
and
lots of respect.
Very little looking out of the boat in the Yale crew.
Mm-hmm.
And whether Steve coaches that or whether the guys just sort of are happy being inside the boat, I didn't see the stroke look over once, and the coxswain only look over once or twice.
Yeah.
And
he's allowed to.
And he's supposed to.
He needs to.
Yeah.
So here on the River Thames for the 152nd running of the Yale-Harvard boat race, it was Yale victorious on the Sexton Cup. They take home the Sexton Cup and they sweep the river today, winning the Sexton Cup, the F. Valentine Chapel Cup, and the New London Cup for the 3V.
And I think there is also a Hoyt Trophy Cup that I'm slipping on the name of.
It's the Hoyt Pease and the Robert Chappell Jr. Trophy.
And they'll take both of those.
They'll take everything. They'll take all the hardware home today.
Yeah.
And well deserved. What a wonderful way for the Yale Bulldogs to cap off their season. An historic season, an IRA title, a third consecutive sprints title. Just wonderful. A row cup for the first time, I think, since 1980 or 82. That's the points trophy at the sprints. Obviously an Ivy League title as well. And to do it in such classic fashion against such a tremendous opponent in the Harvard Crimson, couldn't be sweeter. Couldn't be sweeter for Coach Gladstone, Coach Baum, Coach Gennaro. Joel Furtek, our rigger, just came back from California with the shells, as I'm sure the Harvard shells had to come back too. It's been a team effort for everybody to make this happen, and now everybody, I believe, goes their separate ways.
So before you sign off, Eddie, what is in plan for does the Yale crew have any postseason plans, or are they?
I think individually they do. Sure, I think a lot of guys are going to their respective national team camps. I know there is a combination 2V, 3V effort to Henley this year for the Yale heavyweights, and so everybody's going to be rowing somewhere, I think, abroad or even here in the States with Nate Goodman. But that's for tomorrow to figure out where everybody's going. Tonight, celebration.
Yep, and they'll get to paint the rock.
And they will paint the rock, yes. The rock returns to blue and white.
Yep.
So for everybody here, for our awesome cameraman, Evan Ellis, and our tremendous driver, Jeff, right? We've had a wonderful sunny and slightly breezy time here on the River Thames as we've watched these two classic American universities go head-to-head in the 152nd running of the Yale-Harvard boat race. So to recap, Yale wins the varsity, Yale wins the JV, and Yale wins the 3V here on the River Thames. So for Greg Stone, Harvard 75, and myself, Andy Card, we'll sign off, and we'll see you next year right here on the River Thames for the 153rd running of the Yale-Harvard boat race. Goodbye, everybody.